How do you set growth goals and targets for your email marketing efforts? Well, the truth is, you can't set growth goals without benchmarking your current results. That's exactly what we're going to do. Let's dive into how to benchmark your existing email results, a sheet to track them, and how to monitor and set your growth targets moving forward.
You can't set realistic growth goals for your email marketing without first benchmarking your existing results. So let's walk through a quick 5 step plan to benchmarking your existing email marketing performance. The first thing you're going to do is perform a 3 to 12 month campaign look back. This is a simple evaluation of every broadcast email you've sent for the past 3 to 12 months. Right? 3 to 12 months, 3 being the minimum. Right, 3 being the minimum, 12 kind of being the maximum, and really, it's not the maximum. After you've done this, if you start to see data trends and you're wanting to go longer, you can actually go back 24 months or 36 months, or as long as is relevant for your current list size and audience. So, step one, look back. We want to pull and export all the data, opens, clicks, everything from our email platform. Now, the next thing we want to do is to start plotting this data in. Right? I'm going to give you a spreadsheet you can use to not only backfill, but monitor moving forward. But we need to plot in and backfill all this data into a spreadsheet so that we have every email we've sent for whatever our look back period is. We're looking for subject line. We're looking for the number of sends. We're looking for the number of emails delivered, open rate, click rate, unsubscribe, complaint, all of these things. So we're going to plot all of that data in for our look back period. Now, the third step, so we're going to start to identify outliers and irregularities. And I mean good and bad, high and low. Where are your super high open rates or super high click through rates? Or where are your incredibly low open rates or click through rates, spam complaint rates? We're looking at all of this data to just identify anything that seems overly high or overly low. All right, we want to identify those and then ask why, especially on the bad. Why? What happened? Now, on the flip side, we want to do that on the good as well. So we want to figure out how can we do more of what worked and less of what didn't? How do we avoid those negative engagement rates? How do we avoid unsubscribes? How do we avoid complaints? How do we encourage higher click-through rates? How do we encourage higher forwards, right? How do we encourage the positive and mitigate against the negative? This is going to really help impact our rates moving forward, or at least give us a plan. All right, the next thing we're going to do in benchmarking our performance is look for patterns, right? Look for patterns within the data. As you start to plot these and look back, do you have higher open rates on a specific date or day, right? Do Wednesdays get a oddly high open rate for you? What about a time of day? What about your send from? What about the topic? Right? What about the structure of the subject line? Do curiosity-based subject lines or more direct benefit subject lines get higher clicks? Or are you looking at your scarcity or your urgency based subject lines getting really, really low clicks if you send more than 7 in a month? This is the type of pattern that we're looking for to start to inform what we should and shouldn't do moving forward. Now, finally, once we have all of this data plotted, once we've done our look back, however long you choose to go, once we've backfilled all the data, we've kind of identified those outliers, started to look for patterns, what we want to do is establish a baseline and set a goal for each individual KPI, right? If we set a goal based on what we want it to be, what we believe it should be, with no reality attached to our current performance, then we could either be unknowingly or unintentionally sandbagging or setting wildly unrealistic goals for our email performance. So, step one in improving your email performance is to benchmark your email performance. All right, once we've benchmarked our performance, we need to continue to monitor these exact same KPIs moving forward on a regular basis. We don't want to have to go back and do a deep dive benchmark or deep dive backfill of data for another 3, 6, 12 months because we stopped doing this. So here's a cadence for when and what you should be reviewing on your emails each and every day, week, month, quarter. So weekly, right? Weekly, we're looking at kind of a spot check. We're looking for early indicators. So think green, yellow, red, right? These basic uh, good, meh, bad colors. As you're looking at your weekly emails and looking for green, yellow, red in all of your KPIs. So what about your open rates? And what about your click-through rates? And what about your forwards or spam complaints or unsubscribes? Are they generally trending in the right direction? We have our benchmarks set. Remember, we know what the average of each of these should be. So if we're below the average and if we're trending down, that's a problem. And it tells us we need to dive in, right? We need to dive in and say, is there something going on with deliverability, right? Have I hit a spam trap? Am I blacklisted? How's my IP? Let's look at my delivery report. Let's break it down by domain. How's my deliverability? Am I inboxing in Gmail? These early indicators tell us what to do. Do we have a messaging problem? Do we have a deliverability problem? Do we have a problem with the content? Right? There's just too much of this content being talked about. The list, the subscribers are unengaged. Basically, are we sending full list broadcasts that should be sent to individual segments because of lower engagement? All right, next, monthly. All right, monthly, what we want to look for is emerging trends. So when we're doing our monthly look back on all the data from the previous month, we want to look for what our subscribers are telling us based on topic, type, time, right? Are they saying we really like consuming content on Sunday afternoons? The data will tell you that. And if they are, then the way to engage more of your subscribers is to send more content on Sunday afternoons. Are they telling you that the specific topic that you've talked about maybe for a little too long because you're interested in it this month or last month that they're not interested in? And if we continue to send things to our list that they're not interested in, they become unengaged, they unsubscribe, they report spam, and our deliverability goes down. So not only do we lose the benefit of having that person and the ability to communicate with them, the ability to send them, to the ability to convert them into a buyer, we also start to have a threat of their unengagement affecting our delivery and deliverability for our other engaged subscribers. So we're looking monthly for these topics, trends, time, day. When should we send more email? What type should we send? What days should we avoid? What subject lines do we need to look at modeling differently moving forward? All right, now quarterly, we want to do a bigger look back. We want to look back at the entire quarter and say, are our benchmarks still relevant? Have we raised the bar? Right? This is the really exciting time, is when you've started to intentionally focus on solid email marketing. You're writing better copy, you're segmenting your list better, you're sending at the appropriate times, you're engaging, and you're constantly over the benchmark you previously set. First, when that happens, that's a giant win, so congratulations. Second, the goal is not to be above the bar. The goal is to raise the bar, right? We want to constantly ask more of any of our efforts, especially our email list. If we've achieved our goals, if we're constantly over our benchmark, we have to raise the benchmark. We have to raise the goals. So before we can raise the goal, we raise the benchmark. What's our new average? This is something to celebrate. Again, we have increased the average open rate, or we've increased the average click-through rate, or we've increased the average forward rate. Those are all things to celebrate with positive engagement metrics going up in averages. Now, unfortunately, if we're talking about unsubscribes or complaints, that's not necessarily a time to celebrate. We still have to adjust the benchmarks and set new targets, but we need to inform what optimization efforts need to be deployed because our list is unsubscribing or marking us as spam more often than they were at the last look back, right? So this is what we're going to do quarterly. This is going to inform how we need to change our email and how we need to optimize different aspects for these KPIs. And then finally, we want to do an annual look back, right? We want to look for outliers and irregularities. We want to look for seasonality, right? We want to look for what time of the month, what months of the year are good and bad. And this is where year two, right? If you've done a full 12-month look back when you started, and now you've completed a full year, what you have is a year-over-year comparison, right? We move from week over week to month over month to quarter over quarter, and quarter over quarter to year over year. The further we go back in data, the more data points we have to do these comparisons. If you can look at January from a year ago to January from 2 years ago and compare the differences, you'll start to be able to see trends in seasons, trends in the full year. So this is a time for us to look back and say, what do I know about the engagement of my list based on the times of year, right? Are they overly engaged in summer? Are they completely unengaged in summer, right? Are they overly engaged in the fourth quarter, but kind of checked out in the third quarter? What happens with your subscribers? How do they engage with your content month over month, year over year? And when you have that data, you have to ask, what do I need to do because of it? How do I change it? How do I optimize it? If they're not engaging with my emails in the fourth quarter, or they're not engaging with my emails during summer, how could I send them different types of emails, maybe with lower asks and higher engagement mechanisms during those seasonally unengaged times? Is the ask too much for the attention, right? That's the big breakthrough here. We're looking for, when do you have the best attention? When do you have the most attention? And how do you monetize that attention with an appropriate ask? The inverse has to be asked as well. When do you have the least attention? And how do we make sure that we're making an appropriate ask for the lowered attention rate that we have? And how do we leverage that ask to send proven high engagement mechanism campaigns? So this is the way that we're going to look at our KPIs. We're going to start with benchmarking, then we're going to move to weekly, monthly, quarterly reviews. What you'll also start to see as you populate your data daily is you'll start to know kind of trends. You'll start to see not just trends, but you'll know pacing. If you send your broadcast emails at 6 in the morning and you fill out your report for that day at noon, and then again at 3, and then again the next morning for the full results, you'll start to know when you fill it out at noon if it is this open rate and this click-through rate and under this spam complaint rate, that this is going to be an above average email, or this is going to be a below average email. This will start to give you the ability to forecast and pace not only on a weekly or monthly basis, not on a quarterly basis, but multiple times throughout the day to decide, do we need to stomp on this email? Is this email performing so bad that our subscribers are telling us, oh my gosh, I do not care anything about this. Why are you talking to me about it? So we need to switch, send a different email, completely cleanse the palette, talk about something else. Or before we even decide to do that, do we need to check on our technical setup? Do we need to make sure everything's okay, right? Is the performance of today's email trending so badly that something has to be wrong? This is the benefit of an appropriate cadence for monitoring your emails, the ability to forecast, the ability to predict, and the ability to catch issues early on. All right, that's it for KPIs. We'll walk through the sheet next. So this is the promotional tracking sheet that you should use when benchmarking and backfilling your results and in monitoring your results moving forward. So when we talked about backfilling, what you're going to want to do is download and open this spreadsheet, export from whatever email client you use, or if you can't export, have someone, either you or someone on your team, or heck, have someone that's an outsourcer that you can temporarily give access to your email client, go back and backfill this data. Now, here's what I'll tell you. I'm a big fan of doing it myself. I'm a big fan of having the person who sends the emails fill this out, not only moving forward, but backfilling it. Why? Because in filling this out, you're going to actually see the data. You're going to get a snapshot of what happened. You're going to ask questions, and the cause and effect ability of what is good and what is bad. What are our subscribers liking and what are they not? And then when did we change something and what happened, right? The insight, the instinct, the experience that comes from filling this out and being curious and asking questions will make you a better marketer. It'll make you a better email marketer for sure, but a better marketer in general, because you'll understand how we can persuade or engage people to do things that we want. And that is a powerful bit of knowledge to have. So this sheet is very simple. It's tabbed out by months with one sheet for, well, each month of the year, as well as a totals sheet that pulls through. So this is going to be incredibly powerful and helpful when we're benchmarking. We'll start to see our averages not only by month, but then we'll pull them by quarter, and then at the end, we'll pull them by year. So the sheet is fairly simple. What you're going to have is your date, right? And if you send more than one email a day, because you're either sending multiple full list sends or you are sending multiple segmented sends, different campaigns to different people, or the same campaign with a slightly different hook, modification, or content based on that subscriber, then what you're going to want to do is simply duplicate it. Simply come here and duplicate this and add another entry for that day. But all we're going to enter is the date it was sent, the date your email was sent, the subject line. This will be nice because you'll have a list of subject lines for every email you've sent to your subscriber base, whether it's a full broadcast or a segmented broadcast, right here in sequential order. Right next to that, you'll see some of your KPIs. You'll start to see trends because of the simplicity of keeping this all on one sheet. You'll start to see trends about the type of subject line. So whether it's benefit based, whether it's direct, whether it's curiosity based, whether it's scarcity based or urgency based, you'll start to see a pattern of not only how many of those you're sending, right? Maybe you have a go-to that you kind of don't realize you're sending a little too often on a curiosity-based subject line, and people are no longer opening them, right? You need to get a little bit more direct or benefit-based in your email copy or email subject line. You may find that when you have an email subject line that is curiosity-based, you can't really tell that much on your open rate because we're starting to see less data there. But what you can tell is when you do that based with a very direct body copy with 3 links and an image that clicks go up. Now, you won't see the body copy or the image in here, but when you see higher than normal click-through rates, you should go and look at that email and start to make notes. So again, when we're backfilling this data, we're going to enter the date an email was sent, the subject line, the number of subscribers that email was sent to, the number of subscribers that email was delivered to. So this is when we're looking at your deliverability, right? How many of the sends are going into the inbox? Now that'll automatically calculate our delivery percentage. So what's your percentage? Again, we're looking really 93, 94, 95 or higher. Anything below that, definitely anything below 90, we want to take a good hard look at our email deliverability, at our technical setup, infrastructure, at our engagement rate, and making sure that we are now not being routed into the junk folder on a specific domain because of low engagement with our subscribers. What about our bounce rates? What's our list hygiene looking like? These are the things that this sheet will tell us. The next thing we're going to enter is our open rate. So again, I know we're getting less data here, but I do not believe that the open rate is dead. It can't be a critical KPI to validate the overall health or success of your email marketing efforts or of your subscriber base. But what you'll start to see is a trend line, right? Yes, more people and more platforms will adopt MPP, but either way, you'll start to see a trend line and you'll know, is this email generally average, above average, or below average based on the data I get consistently, right? So number of opens and your open percent will automatically calculate based on the delivered emails, right? We don't actually care about our open rate based on the number sent. That's a vanity metric. We only care about our open rates based on the number delivered. Same with clicks. So you're going to populate clicks and it's going to give you your click rate percentage. So not click through rate, not the number of people who opened and the number of people who clicked, the number of people the email was delivered to, and the number of people that clicked. The next thing you'll enter is your unsubscribe rate, and you'll then get your unsubscribe percentage automatically calculated. The same thing with complaint rates and the same thing with forwards. Now, as you move down, you'll see that you'll start to understand your volume, and that is important. Like, how large of a volume sender are you? You also understand your deliverability, right? What is your deliverability? Then as this fills up, you'll start to see your average delivery rate, right? Your average delivery rate, your number of opens. So you'll see number of opens, average open rate, total number of clicks, average click-through rate. You kind of get the point. This, when backdating, will give us every bit of information we need to benchmark our results. And then we can do some research. We can go to Google. We can say, what is the average click-through rate or open rate for my industry? What is the average unsubscribe rate? You can ask yourself questions like, do I believe that this should be higher? Like, if I look at the industry average, if I look at our core strengths, if I look at our existing results before I benchmark or after I've benchmarked, before I set a goal, what do I believe hours hour now based on the industry and based on our skills? Therefore, what should the goal be? Right? If your average open rate is 12%, should the goal be increasing your open rate to 15% by the end of the quarter? Your average open rate? I don't know. It depends. Right? Depends. If your average click-through rate is 1.5%, should you try to get it to 3? It depends on your industry and depends on your capabilities, and it depends on what areas you're going to focus in. If you have an incredible new copywriter that's starting, or if you're working with an outsourced copywriter, then maybe you have every reason to believe that this will go up. Just be sure that you know not only your current results, also the industry standard for your market, right? For your market. So don't set unrealistic goals. And again, after you're backfilling this, you're not only going to get your months, you're going to get this report filled out, which will show you quarter over quarter and the full month where you're sitting. So you could have longer term goals to say, right now our average open rate is 11%, right? Average open rate is 11%. We need to get that up, and that would be a good goal. Again, keeping in mind open rates are a depreciating KPI in email marketing. But this is your metrics report. You can download this and first backfill it. Next, create a new tab or create a new sheet for moving forward. So backfill, ideally 12 months, at least 3 months worth of data so that you can start to see trends. If you know the past 3 months were seasonally high or seasonally low, if seasonality was there in any way, shape, or form in your business, I'm going to heavily encourage you to not stop at the last 90 days. In fact, maybe ignore the last 90 days, or at least go back 180 days. We definitely want to make sure that we're looking at a snapshot of your average, not your seasonally high or your seasonally low. So that's how you can use the promo tracking sheet to not only backfill and benchmark, but to track and monitor your email marketing efforts moving forward.